Welcome to the Nerd Party.
I'm Darren Moser.
I'm Philip Gilfus.
I'm Daniel Prue.
And this is City Alpha 3. Hello and welcome to City Alpha 3, a Star Trek podcast here on the Nerd Party Network. I am Darren Moser and joined as always by my fellow Strandees, Philip and Daniel. Gentlemen, we are even closer to new Star Trek, but not quite yet. I was at Lower Decks, I'm pretty sure is the next on deck on the
next week.
On the 12th? Next week. Ooh.
By the time they're listening to this, it may already be out.
Now, our listeners should know that due to our recording schedule, we'll be releasing our review episodes a little bit after each episode drops for viewing. But that's just because we're thinking about it, analyzing every frame.
Really have to digest the deepities in Lower Decks, yeah.
I mean, hopefully they'll answer the question, does the crew know if Mariner is the captain's daughter? I've been waiting for that shoe to drop. Oh, it did. It did last season. Okay. The new shoes to drop and more enterprises to discover. I'm super excited, though, guys. I mean, I honestly say of last year, Lower Decks was my favorite show for Star Trek, hands down. And we probably might all share that same sentiment. We'll see. Pop quiz, Daniel. What was your favorite Star Wars show last year?
Well,
the new show.
Star Wars. I only watched the first. Yeah, I think you mean Star Trek. You said Star Wars, though.
That was a test. You failed. Pop
Mandalorian.
Quiz.
That was an easy answer.
Yeah,
come on now.
Mandalorian, obviously. What about a Star Trek show?
I would. I would say yes. The bar is a bit lower than maybe I'd like, but I would say
you had three choices.
Three choices. Definitely Lower Decks was the highlight of them. I would say that.
What about you, Philip? Was that a shared sentiment?
Yeah, not to be engaged in embarrassing groupthink, but I agree. I forget. I was on the internet. I was on the internet, and it was some sort of like ranking your favorite new Trek or something, and I was like, yeah, Lower Decks, I guess. I mean, it's like obviously we all are not crazy about Discovery, and Picard. I think we like parts, we don't like parts. It's kind of middling maybe for us, and so Lower Decks is all that's left, and I mean not in a bad way. And we're like, yeah,
collectively was more positive than negative, I would say, for sure.
Now, when we throw Strange New Worlds, maybe we'll have a new contender. Maybe. We don't know.
I know.
Maybe.
And Prodigy. Yeah.
That's right.
No, it's...
Who knows?
The only way they'll satisfy our ranking system is by having 5 new shows going at the same time.
Now, I've never thought about it, which is weird because I have to write Star Trek's copy for the show. But, I've never thought about what the abbreviation of Lower Decks is. It's LD, or would you just say Lower Decks because it's a short word?
Yeah, I've seen, looking at Trek Core, I think they just do LD, or maybe LDS.
I mean, Lower Decks is the Utah of Star Trek titles. You just can write the whole thing. It's not a big deal,
Right.
Because I saw Prodigy is officially pro when I was like...
It's the May of months. You just write the whole thing.
Just write it out.
It's like, what, MY? Are we really... Do we got to
Strange New Worlds, that's the one, the SNW. That's... But we all can get behind that, but,
I would just... Oh, wait, yeah, they abbreviated it Phase 2? I don't know why they did that for Strange New Worlds. No, they didn't. Yeah. They didn't call it that. Well, we are going to be talking about... an actor who hasn't died, as apparently my information seemed to misconstrue. No, recently it was David Warner's birthday, and I thought he had an interesting slice of Star Trek characters that he's played, so I thought it'd be interesting to talk about those and discuss them. And yes, I guess the way I originally asked made it sound like he had passed, which is why we're talking about... Nope, just... looked around the room and saw David Warner on my screen and thought, hey, let's talk about that this week. But yeah, so let's start with, we're going to go from bad to good. No. We're going to start with Star Trek V, as he played St. John Talbot, who was the Federation representative on Nimbus 3. So, he got into Star Trek easy. He's a human. he could just he smokes. He's one of the few people in Star Trek that smokes, and he's pretty much just
Raffi. Name another. Marta from Star Trek 6. That's about it.
Oh, that's true.
There's got to be more than that. Well, maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, there's a handful for sure, but not very many if you think about it.
I think it's kind of I'm sure Vix had to have smoked.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yep.
Did he? I don't actually remember.
You're right. It's more of like you assume, but not when you try to think about it.
I don't know if Vic himself smoked, but there were plenty of people that were smoking, and
yes.
in the Royale, I'm sure there were people smoking in the. But he's. I mean, they're pretty much on the planet. He doesn't go. Well, he does go through the Great Barrier at the end. Traveling with Cybok, but it's a very easy, like I said, an easy role for him to kind of just slide into. It's not. There's no makeup, or as far as alien makeup, there's no alien makeup, and I did read that they had to trim the budget a little bit, but initially his cigarettes
play
were
the
going to
rock
have
monster.
I knew I was going to say that.
Was he going to be he's the pig alien. He's inside. No. But no, the special effect was going to be his cigarettes were going to be like self-lighting, like you tap the end or something and it lit up, but apparently the Shakari effect took up too much budget or something. but yeah, what did you guys think of, I know it makes you dwell on Star Trek V, but this little role of David Warner, who's still at the time, he's been in Tron, he's been in a whole bunch of things, and it's only the start of his Star Trek career.
I was just thinking that, we've already done our Star Trek V episode, but they really did not do a lot of service to the trio. And I can't remember their names. And you just told me his name, I've already forgotten it. But it was the Romulan lady, him, and Burpee Klingon. And to be true, I think of the three...
So General Cord, got to start with a K,
right?
And Catherine Dar from the Romulan Star Empire, who they kind of were hooking up a little at the end of the movie, if I remember. They were close.
Well, of the three, Burpee Klingon gets the most screen time, because he's at the end, I will now introduce my new tactical officer, But, he's just Burpee Klingon. There's not a lot to it. I think out of the three, the one I would like to see is the Romulan. Because, up till now, we've gotten 0 Romulans. We had, 2 appearances in TOS, nothing. Well, TAS. Nothing. And then Star Trek V, the first Romulan appearance. And it's, you really don't, you just have to be told she's Romulan. There's nothing necessarily... if you were to watch that movie again, and we're not going to, you wouldn't get anything glean Romulan other than, pointy-haired lady.
Right. Yeah, and, I feel like, put him on a starbase or something, the whole planet of galactic peace, this deserted
maybe a space
desert
station
of
galactic peace, but, that they had trouble with, the early ones, so this is, maybe the 5th one.
Oh, gosh,
It's just a thought. A pitch.
Maybe the 4th one disappeared right away. Yeah. We don't know if Q did anything to it or what. Yeah. Maybe there's a wormhole nearby. I don't know, but
guys, we're not here to fix Star Trek V.
Look. When you're going to talk about Star Trek V, inherently the conversation is going to drift towards fixing it. Yeah. We can't help it, Daniel. But,
his character just. It's not the same. He kind of reminds me of the diplomatic character at the beginning, very beginning, the first scene of Battlestar Galactica, the miniseries, where it's just the guy just sits there on the table and then waits for the Cylons to come, and then they come and kill him. Make out with him first. But anyway, all that's to say is, it would have been interesting a little bit. I know we're not going to get a lot. It's Star Trek V. But just, a little bit of backstory, because, he's, obviously not first-tier Earth Federation diplomat being assigned.
Right.
But what is he?
Oh, you mean so you're saying he's like Baltar from from Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, where he's kind of just
Or he's
chewing
like
the scenery.
Londo, basically, if we were going to
Do you know
Babylon 5.
who he reminds me of is Lord John Marbury. That's who I think of.
And he keeps calling Captain Kirk Gerald.
Because he's over the top and he's silly and ridiculous, and it's just whatever,
That's a good West Wing reference. I like that. Yeah, I can see that.
Spock was the butler.
In the novelization, it talks about, a little bit of his backstory. He was once a prominent diplomat, and then apparently there was a disastrous diplomatic fiasco on Andor, and then he fell out of favor and turned to drinking. And
wait a minute, there's a novelization
of Star Trek V? Isn't Star Trek V the novelization, The Apology?
I got it right here. It's
Whoa,
really. No, I'm
That's
just
not
kidding.
really. That's the apology part.
No, this is my copy of the Lord of the Rings. But
Who wrote that?
well, I'm pretty sure there's novelizations for all of
Now
them.
I'm looking it up.
Yeah, I was curious who wrote it as well. I was like, I hope Shatner had nothing to do with it. Maybe it's really good. Maybe the novelization's left really good stuff that's in there that's not in the movie. But I don't think I'd go out of my way to.
I love
try
how
to find
Memory
out.
Alpha has a page for novels, and I'm like, why doesn't this say bricks with words? It needs to. But,
while Philip is
J.M. Dillard, who I know has written a lot of Star Trek. I can't, but J.M. Dillard wrote that.
Interesting. Have either of you read it?
No, but
No.
God, now this kind of gives me a bizarre thing to want to read it. Like, do they make it better?
Like, does it actually fill in and add enough to
do
make
they have
it?
rock monsters?
Yeah, you'd think, right?
They can afford it in the book, right?
Just costs, it's a couple of words. That's all you need.
So not a lot to say about St. John. He just probably has minutes at most in the film. It's not a huge character for sure.
Was he the bad guy in Tron?
Yes, he was Sark.
Okay.
And also Edward Dillinger,
Okay.
because they had the characters play themselves as their programs as well.
Yeah, I've seen.
But that's what he's mostly known for.
Okay.
Is playing Tron.
Because I was like, when you said we were talking about him, I looked him up. I looked up his IMDb to be like, because you see him around. He's one of those guys. Like,
yeah,
oh,
you
that guy.
kind of hear the name, but
Yeah.
you know his face, but not his name as much.
And I saw Tron I don't know, 5-6 years ago now, and I didn't even remember him in it. But what I remember him from growing up was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze, which I forgotten completely he was in until I looked it up on IMDb. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those actors that just kind of pops in and out. But we'll see. And again, we're talking about his slice of his career in Star Trek. So let's move
Look, he was in The
on.
Lost World? What?
Yeah, he was one of the hunters, like the guy with the safari hat who is kind of like the best hunter ever.
Oh, this is The Lost World. The Lost World. I thought it was Jurassic Park, The Lost World. That is not the same thing. But he was in it with...
Now I'm getting confused.
He was that's okay. I'm just looking at his IMDb while we're...
So it's not the Jurassic Park Lost World.
No.
He's... Oh, I must be thinking of another actor then. But he does feel like he would be that kind of guy, like the park ranger who fights the raptors in Jurassic Park. He has that kind of look. Like I could see him in that role. That's not a role he was in, but I could see that.
Interesting. Yeah, he's had quite the career.
All right. Well, let's shift forward a whole movie to Star Trek 6, where we bring him back, but we put some makeup on him.
I like to think that he saw the movie and turned over to I don't know, Howard Bennett or something, be like, can I have another try? Because
Or he saw the Klingon guy he had all of his scenes with, and he's like, I want that cool makeup. I want to wear that sweet stuff.
Oh, with Christopher Plummer.
I didn't know we could have
General
chosen the
Chang.
Klingon. I was
So he comes back in Star Trek 6 as Chancellor Gorkon, the amalgamation of Gorbachev and Lincoln, which is why he has the Lincoln-esque beard and peace. I guess.
Actually, I didn't know. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but that's such a weird combination that I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, but that's literally what they built the character around.
I guess it makes sense now that
Assassination.
But it's a very interesting character. Again, not a huge amount of screen time, but it's definitely more profound. Like the times we see him, he's from beaming in with that giant thigh bone scepter to, the dinner table, his death. I mean, speak for me, I like Gorkon. Like, I'm sad that he's dead because I actually felt like he seemed like a pretty good ruler of the Klingon Empire. And then it's kind of a step backwards when he dies. But Daniel, what did you think of Gorba Lincoln when you first saw Star Trek VI? Was this a character you wish had been in more of the movie, or just enough, or was he? I don't think he quoted any Shakespeare, so
he didn't.
No, he literally says the name of the movie
that's
title.
True. That's true.
That's right.
That was a test, Philip. You passed.
A lot of those going around today. It seems like it's weird. No, Gorkon is a great character, and I think he serves that movie very well. Obviously, carrying that plot forward. I do wish there was more references to Gorkon in future Star Trek, because you would think he'd be a pretty.
There are. We'll get to those.
Oh, okay, good. Because I was just thinking, I'm like, I don't ever remember them bringing him up in TNG.
Well,
or Deep
I will
Space
say
Nine.
the one reference that I do know of is in Preemptive Strike, which is where at very, very end of TNG. So Admiral Nechayev's Excelsior ship that's ferrying her around is the USS Gorkon. That was named in honor of him and his peace-loving ways. So, so I mean, again, it's not I know what you're saying, more like an on-screen or a spoken reference. Like maybe Worf calls up a computer saying, show the top 5 chancellors of the Klingon Empire, and he shows up on the list.
I want all the best characteristics of these people.
For the 5 minutes he was chancellor before he gave it to Martok, maybe he.
Oh no, I felt like that was Martok. He's like doing the Saru thing of learning how to be a good chancellor. Give me the 5 best ones. And
well, it's funny because again, looking at the list or on Memory Alpha, it's showing chancellors of the Klingon High Council, and it's like. Da-da-da-da-da, Kempek, Gowron, Worf, Martok. And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess technically Worf was it for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the William Henry Harrison of
I was going to say, there's historical precedent for that, right? I guess those things are mentioned. But what they do really well, and I don't know if it's even intentional, is like Gorkon makes sense like in the false future history of Star Trek, just because like he is he's somebody who tries to bring about the not unification, but like the peace throughout the and to unite the Klingons and stuff like this. And like in TNG, we see that he was successful, or at least helped push it in that direction, because we've now had quote unquote peace.
That's true.
Peace with the Klingons that's like the status quo in TNG, up until the Civil War in Deep Space Nine. Or the Civil War in TNG.
Right, which I think is why they say that they named the ship after him, is, because there are not a lot of alien-named Federation starships, so that's kind of a precedent there.
Alien. If you could only hear yourself there.
But to talk specifically about how he's portrayed, I think that David Warner does a great job endearing you to the character. You not just because he's like literally pushing for peace, but he seems very wise, and like he fits that role really, really well. Like he's like a thoughtful leader, like someone you'd want to be your leader.
He doesn't have a temper. Like most Klingon leaders, like you look at him wrong. Well, I'm just saying he doesn't express it. Like he's that kind of cold, calculating. Like you feel that he is a leader and he has, power, but he doesn't show it in a traditional Klingon way, where like I'm gonna prove to you that I'm the leader because I'm going to get riled up at every little thing. It's like he's not like that.
It's actually interesting. It makes me think, like, what do you guys... Because a lot of Star Trek 6 is Christopher Plummer yelling at Kirk, saying how similar they are.
Quoting Shakespeare.
But and there's a lot of parallels between those characters. But what about, like, Gorkon obviously sees something in Kirk as well, and he's a...
Because don't they ask for him? I mean, I know Spock volunteers them, but
You
I wonder if
personally vouch.
But it makes me wonder, like, did Gorkon think, who do I have to be? Who would receive this olive branch best? You know, like, was it Kirk? Or maybe Spock is more of the connection, because Spock had the dialogue with him, personally vouching, as Philip said.
Yep. The old Vulcan proverb, only Nixon could go to China. I've seen the movie several times. I think with Gorkon, interesting. I thought what you were going to say when you were kind of on that thread of General Chang to Kirk, that maybe Gorkon is to Spock, as far as sort of paralleling who we get. Because and I think in many ways, even though we know Spock is, Spock, the logical one, we know Spock can kick butt when he needs to. We know, he has a full range. And I think with Gorkon, and this is me going deep into it, but I'm going to do that. I'll give one of those rare compliments of Discovery, Star Trek Discovery, is showing at that time in that 23rd century time that there wasn't a united Klingon empire. That it was
houses and factions
and which theoretically it still exists. That it's the council is made up of members of the houses, but all this is to say that Gorkon has to be kind of a badass, because you got to control all those houses in the council, and that's not easy because they're literally stabbing people in the back. So when whether he's like an elder statesman, that maybe he's been chancellor for like 20 years, or maybe he was a young warrior and then he kind of grew into the head of his house and council and chancellorship and all that. So you can kind of create that backstory, but regardless, he's had to have some chops to get to that position. It's not like he's like the Klingon ambassador. He's the Klingon chancellor.
Right. Yeah, is that what you kind of meant, Daniel? It was like, who did we see as his opposite? Is it Spock? Is it Kirk? Is it the Federation president?
I was thinking that there's that speech that he gives Kirk when he's looking to him to carry on what he started. Like, I just thought he saw something of himself in Kirk, but I could see the Spock angle for sure. But it's just obviously in that movie there's a lot of themes about Kirk versus Chang, and Gorkon is not part of that conversation, obviously.
Well, and I think it does make sense, though, that it's Kirk, because, again, to them, Kirk is like their greatest rival. He's the greatest warrior and foil of the Klingon Empire on the Federation side. So he has that honor. And, yes, they're enemies, and it's this Cold War mentality, but I pick up on, like, General Chang and the way he's talking and conferring with Kirk, that they maybe don't. They don't like each other, obviously, but they respect each other in what each other represents in their particular hierarchy on their particular culture. So I could see it. I could see a bid for it being Kirk. Spock is the olive branch, but Kirk is the one who's going to actually have to make it happen, and he does. That's literally the movie, is him not letting peace die.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know, this is maybe me a bit mansplaining here, but I'll use my soapbox here. Because I think it's for Kirk's role, it's sort of the reverse. Like, he's more for the Federation, because this is my moment to shine. Let me explain the Nixon metaphor for those who don't understand it. So, like, only Nixon goes
Lincoln, not Nixon.
But only Nixon, and anyone may know this, but only Nixon go to China. What does that mean? What that meant is that, Richard Nixon, virulent anti-communist, had been fighting, railing against anti-communism his entire career. And so he could open China for the United States, because, if it had been some liberal Democrat, commie opening up China, we're not, there are factions of the country that wouldn't trust him to do that. But this is the anti-communist. This is the fighter. This is the Cold Warrior going to China saying, it's cool, guys. And so there's no right-wing reaction, because, but this is so Kirk is more on the Federation side, that, look, Kirk's, we all read Kirk's. I read stories about Kirk in grade school, all right, about him kicking Klingon butt. And so if he says it's all right, which I think is what Spock was thinking, then we get the Federation people to buy into it. Now, the Klingons may just see it more of an honored warrior, so they're honored in that way, like you were talking about.
Right. No, that's a good point, and that does kind of... I mean, obviously the line was there with intent of only Nixon could go to China, but yeah, that's a... Thanks for that history lesson,
Sorry.
Philip.
Yeah.
No, that's good. I didn't thought of that. You know, I mean, I knew the line, you know, only Nixon could go to China, but I didn't really know the fullness of it as much.
So are we going to do a whole nother deep dive on Star Trek 6 right now? Because I'm totally if we want to just keep going down that path. But.
Well, I think it is interesting that Gorkon... I mean, not that I'm saying he's like the star character in all of their franchise, but I think everyone knows who Gorkon is. But as like you said, Darren, if you put how much time he's on screen, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah, what is he?
I mean, like,
he has 2 scenes, right?
and then he gets shot, you know, and he doesn't say anything.
It's like transporter room, dinner scene,
and death scene.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
And yet, I think he, you know, that's good writing, it's good acting, it's good everything, that he manages to convey the peace effort, the seriousness, the gravitas in 2 scenes. And
Yeah.
like, yeah. It's really
And
He really does.
And even his absence speaks to like the situation and the characters, because like he was that man holding the piece together, and as soon as he's killed, it's everything is thrown into chaos and could possibly fall apart. Without him, like he was like the champion, the one leading the way, and now without him, it's like, oh my god, if they succeed with this plan, it's perpetual war, you know, forever, or the death of the Klingon Empire, you know. So
did they call his
Yeah.
daughter Mother when she became Chancellor? I'm just some Star Trek Discovery.
I think Gorkon did show up also in the Star Trek Klingon Academy video game, where I think it's like pre Star Trek 6, so he's more like a chief of staff for the current Chancellor, and you're just seeing a little bit more of him and Chang's relationship, kind of pre.
I ever played that?
was it played
This
by
is
David Warner?
Yeah, he returned for the role.
Wow.
Yeah, so this was a PC video game.
Was
Star
Christopher
Trek Klingon
Plummer also
Academy.
in that?
I want to say yes, but don't quote me.
Wow.
So this came out in 2000.
Yeah.
So
Oh, so
It's
this
just
was
the
well
end
after.
of the Star Trek age.
What was it called?
Star Trek Klingon Academy. Yeah, the perspective of a cadet of General Chang's Elite Command Academy. So it's got to have Chang in it, I would think.
And
Yeah,
then, in order
Christopher
to-
Plummer as Chang, and then a bunch of apostrophe names. It's like Kamek, Kapork, Kamepk, Weapons Officer,
Wow, yeah,
Extra
look at
1 and
that.
Extra 2.
Christopher Plummer and David Warner. That's crazy.
There you go.
That makes sense, though. And that also makes sense that you take them both.
Michael
You know,
Dorn,
these are known.
George Takei. Wow, guys, we may have to relive our
You're our gamer, Daniel.
our
so I
game playing
expect
days.
you- yeah.
No, wait. Michael Dorn as Thok Mok, Colonel Worf's younger brother.
Whatever.
Wait, whoa, God.
Whatever.
Hold on. You can't play your brother. That's
But yeah, we got Sulu and
Captain
a lot
Sulu.
of Captain Sulu.
Well, I'm going to do some research. We'll see if this is playable in these.
Yeah.
day
Or
and
see
age.
if you can find us like a playthrough, like videos
Yeah.
we could watch.
Or do we press shift? Because that, trust me, you think that that's not
no,
important.
no shift.
But,
Gosh, shift. Oh man, but yeah, that would be fun to talk about as well. But yes, but no, yeah, Gorkon again, really liked character, but he dies for his ideals. I mean, he's assassinated by other Klingons, and I mean, yeah, they're colluding with
Well,
Starfleet, but
They weren't Klingons, Darren.
well,
He
there
was
were
not assassinated by Klingons.
General Chang was in on it, and
right.
some others.
He didn't pull the
Romulan.
he didn't pull the trigger.
Ambassador.
Sorry, I got to say that it's really slow, like a
Admiral Cartwright.
Cartwright. Exactly. But
The guy.
Oh,
Was
now I'm trying to remember who his assassin's name was. It like Chell and something?
just put an apostrophe in there and you'll be good. So
No, it was humans. It was Starfleet members.
It wasn't Dax. I know that.
Oh, yeah. Perhaps you know Russian tale, Cinderella.
was it the one who was played by Renee?
No.
The actual
No. That's who tried to kill Kirk, or tried to kill his daughter. Gorkon was killed by the two Starfleet officers who then later got killed.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
right.
We don't know their. I mean, their names probably mentioned, but we don't.
No, we know that. Yeah, it's like crewmen's
actually,
blank and
we
blank.
know exactly their names.
But we
it's like
don't
a major
know like
plot point.
the characters. We don't know who.
Right, that's
the
true.
people. We don't know who they are.
Wait a minute. It belonged to these two. So-and-so and so-and-so. All right. Well, yeah, so moving past esteemed Chancellor Gorkon, who I guess was he succeeded by his daughter then? She
I
would
think
have
so.
been the next chancellor. Yeah.
She was at least acting chancellor for the rest of the movie, if not actual.
Yeah. Yeah, occupation chancellor of the Klingon High Council.
Azamel, what's her name? Something like that.
Yeah, Azabur.
Starts with an A.
And then the next one we know of is Kempek.
Yeah, that's like a million years later.
Oh,
What?
he was
Okay.
in. He died in that episode that we watched about Kalar, or I watched.
Yep.
Anyways.
Yep.
He was known as
Status murdered.
murdered
Well, I
by
think-
Duras. Yep.
Yeah, I think a lot of the chancellors are going to have that next to their name.
Yeah.
Murdered. Tornado. Murder.
Honorable death in Mortal Kombat.
Old age? What the heck?
Now that's a story worth telling.
So then let's see. Then we have moving on to Star Trek The Next Generation. We have Gul Madred, played again by David Warner. Now,
He's-
I mean,
He's like, you know,
Major.
like Goodwill I brought by playing Gorkon. Can I like do the opposite of that?
well, you know, he was actually brought in at the last moment to replace the original actor cast for that role. So he's
Mark
literally
Alamano. Oh, sorry.
well, he's literally reading off of cue cards printed up. He didn't have time to learn his lines, so there's like a big cue card next to Picard while he's interrogating him.
Next to
I mean,
naked
it doesn't.
Patrick Stewart.
It doesn't show. I mean, he definitely delivers it in a really, amazing way. But, yeah, we get. I mean, so this is Chain of Command, Part 1 and 2. Was he in Part 1 actually?
Yeah, well,
No.
probably at the very end.
He
I'm
might
feeling
show up at the very end. Yeah.
Well, because Part 1.
I feel like
was when
Picard gets
Picard's
hoisted up
captured. Yeah.
at the at the end
Yeah.
of Part 1.
So, yeah, so it was definitely in Chain of Command Part 2, which is the two-parter where Captain Jellicoe takes over and Picard, Worf, and Beverly go all tactical black suit ops, and Picard gets captured and tortured. This is the Four Lights scene.
Makes me want to watch this again because as I think about it and
Oh,
process
Chain of Command is great.
Well, I was just thinking, is episode 1 just suck then? Because I'm just thinking everything I'm thinking about had to have been in episode 2.
Well, there's...
Like it's like build up, and then watch the next episode.
Well,
there's all the friction with Jellicoe. There's the
is it, though?
5-shift...
not all the friction, because some of that friction is built in because it starts with the change of command, right?
Command?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't start, but yeah, like that's a midway through, I would think.
But well, they got to put on their cool black suits, their ninja suits. That happens in Part 1.
Oh, there's a practice. Yeah.
They got to have that cool ceremony with the whistle thing when they change the command. Yeah, but no, the second part is better, which is actually kind of the reverse of most of TNG's two-parters, when the
Yeah.
build-up is usually pretty good.
Well, Jellicoe comes into command, and then they're training. There's that prep time when they're getting ready to get. But
Look,
yeah,
we should rewatch that and do our Jellicoe. What if Jellicoe took command or something?
yeah. No, we have the Ferengi. Yeah, there's not a lot. Actually, it's just.
Yeah, that's what I was
you're right.
saying.
I think
the more I think
most
about
of
it, everything was episode 2.
And I think you're right. Yeah, Gul Madred. We don't know who he is, by the end of the first episode, but it's, then we get the to be continued.
Da, da, da.
Da, 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 fire. Wait, no, that's a different end of part 1. But so Gul Madred, so interesting character where they're trying to give a lot of like, what is it to be because this is like a high-ranking Cardassian guy, so he's really embodying. And remember this, so we're in season, what season?
I don't even know. 5?
Season 6.
6. Okay, so DS9 is running at this point.
It is, yep.
Or is it? Actually?
It is. Nechayev usually is your connector.
Actually, this episode is the episode that aired right before Emissary.
I was going to say, this is December of 92, so it was before. So we're, again, laying groundwork on... The point I'm making is like, we're establishing more about Cardassians, and then we're about to see how terrible they are in DS9.
Because this is, and not in a bad way at all, very talky episode. Because, that's all... Patrick and David are just doing a stage play for us. There's
even lighting on the stage.
It's just the two of them. Every now and then you'll have like the daughter came or something, and that's one brings in a tray of food. But it's just it's just a two-hander, I guess, as they say in the business. Because I'm thinking again, I really want to watch this because I feel like there's so much in it. Because, like you said, you get the backstory of Cardassia. Gul Madred's like, we used to be artists and da-da-da, but then the military came in to save everything, blah, blah, blah. But you also get the back and forth about, torture or, this very gentlemanly game of torture and interrogation. And, it's a lot to it.
Yeah, this is like, he's equally as good at being a convincing son of a gun, like a bad guy, like a really bad guy, and also like he was with Gorkon, he was like, you believed
the
him,
same
and you
person,
rooted for him.
but he's really different.
But here it's like you're like, my God, you're an evil man. You are a terrible, terrible being, and of course, obviously, between Patrick and David here, like the acting is phenomenal. Like this is a legendary episode for a bazillion reasons, but the two of them going toe to toe it's just awesome. It's just awesome to watch.
Yeah, because it's not just a pure evil. And again, not having watched it recently, he's not just pure evil like we get like with a. Well, I'm not saying Gul Dukat doesn't have his nuances, but pure evil basically.
Definitely at the end.
Yeah, well, it's literally putting upon your prophet stance on things. But yeah, he's the philosopher villain of the James Bond or something like that. But like he's dastardly, but like he's grounded in his dastardliness. Like he honestly intellectually believes the military complex is what gives Cardassian its greatness, and it's what makes the world go round. And what he's doing to torture this Starfleet officer is keeping the Cardassian Union strong and safe and all that.
Well, and there's another appearance of Madred in this little-known book you might have heard.
I
of.
don't remember his.
So it's
Ship
it's
of the Line is what he's holding on.
So Ship of the Line. The A plot is the A plot is the Enterprise E and all of that. So the B plot is. Picard is on this rescue mission to try to save POWs that are behind Cardassian lines. And so these planets are Madred villages where he's like created these, like he's the mastermind behind trying to get them to break and trying to reveal like Starfleet secrets and stuff as they watch them fight, as they put them in these impossible situations. But it's his daughter who betrays him and gets him... basically helps Picard to defeat him. So, but it was nice because it had that reunion of Picard versus Madred, and bringing that back into the book. So I liked that aspect. I would have loved seeing Madred again show up, maybe in DS9 or something. I think that would have been interesting. Or maybe like that Voyager episode where we had that crazy Cardassian xenobiologist who was actually like, a Nazi, a terrible person.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, Deep Space Nine did a lot with Cardassians, so it's not like they didn't have opportunity, certainly. But I think the reason he's so compelling in that episode is because, as Philip mentioned, this is an intellectual battle between those two characters, and those two characters are very, in a lot of ways, they're just they're mirror characters of each other.
I'm a mirror for you too. No, wait, that's a different.
And I don't. In the same way that like the Q dynamic didn't really work out in Deep Space Nine like it did TNG. I'm not sure. Of course,
God never punched me.
I'm not a writer, so there's definitely ways they could have done it and made it interesting. I'm sure, but it's also like I'm not like bummed they didn't do it just because it feels like such a solid confrontation between these two similar characters. I'm not really sure what else we would have gained from him showing up in Deep Space
I was just thinking.
So you're saying it's who's he's paired with is what's important. So if he was paired with any of the DS9 characters, would it really have been as impactful?
I was just thinking and maybe for good reason, but Deep Space Nine, of course, got all these Ferengi episodes, which many are probably better than
lots of Ferengi episodes.
Yeah, but many of them are actually good. I mean, I would want to say, oh, this is stupid, but actually some of them are actually really good, even though Ferengi are not my favorite, because you got really great actors and playing all those characters. I'm thinking if there could have been one Cardassian episode, like think about it, Dukat, Garrick, Damar, Garrick's dad. I'm blanking on his name.
Inabrantain, yeah, that's right.
And Gul Madred. Like, think of those. Think of those.
Man.
That would be cool.
That would have been really cool.
Because they're all like similar, except they're one off of each one. Like, so they're not the same, but they're similar.
Degrees
but they're like,
different.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, like, so you're thinking of basically like the episode The Magnificent Ferengi, where you just get everyone together and you have this wacky adventure.
On one mission.
I don't know if it's you could do a wacky thing with Cardassians. You'd have to do something a little more serious, I think. Like, you'd have to, like more
like the Seven Samurai or the more Western, Magnificent Seven.
Yeah, or like a spy, even a spy thriller, because they're all of them secrets on secrets on secrets. Like, that's a big thing.
Oh,
and that would be really cool. I agree. Like, imagine the rapport between Tane and Madrid, because they're both, you think, like elder sort of. They've amassed this tremendous amount of
they're the elderly
intelligence.
But I could see because it hadn't been created yet. But like we could say, and for my headcanon, Gul Madrid was just straight military. He wasn't Obsidian Order, so he can be like, why be secret? You just do it, Tan. I don't have to cloak and dagger it.
That's a good point. So in that spectrum of vileness, we have
the spectrum of vileness.
I think we have Garrick on one end, as the least vile, and then I would say
what?
Well, I mean, he's the most good guy. He's the most good guy character of all these. Okay, you know what I'm saying.
I mean,
so Garrick, Damar, and then I would say like Dukat, Tane, and Madrid. Maybe
I think Tane is less evil than
I don't know. I don't know if I would put them on an evil spectrum. I would put them on.
Well, I guess I'm not saying. Yeah,
I would put them on a spectrum of like chaotic versus organized.
Oh yeah.
So
it's like that grid of lawful good and chaotic evil.
Yeah.
That's much more appropriate.
I would say like Garrick and Dukat are both on the chaotic side of the spectrum, and both Madrid and Tane,
chaotic good and chaotic evil,
are more.
No, it's chaotic evil and chaotic eviler.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
Well, that's not a grid; that's a stack.
But that would be fun. You're absolutely right, Phil. That is a missed opportunity, just to kind of do the same thing. Maybe they have to try to save Cardassia from something. Maybe it's like that Klingon episode where we find out that. Gorkon, not Gorkon.
I know what you're talking about. With
Gowron is,
Gowron's
a changeling, and then like maybe it's the same thing for the Cardassians. Oh my goodness! Like there's a changeling has infiltrated the top, and all these characters have to use their.
I mean, technically by then the changeling was just standing there. It wasn't really hiding.
This could have been before that. This could have been before
okay,
that.
that's true.
Well, I'm thinking like you can almost have a reverse situation where there is some Cardassian thingamajiggy MacGuffin on Bajor, or we don't even have to do Bajor, like a moon of Bajor, but you know,
Even better. I want us to take Marco Amnet and split screen him and have that captain that showed up on TNG. He's gonna
his cousin
with the headgear, with the helmet. His cousin, Bob the Cardassian or whatever his name was. But
I'm 100% sure that was it.
I want him to play, but yeah, I want him to play both roles. He has a little mustache, and
because it's actually. I mean, I would be in this gang. I know we're off topic. Their roles
are they gonna have to have a scene where they're all walking towards the camera in a line? Do we have to do that?
Slow-mo.
Well, I'm just thinking they're different roles during the occupation because we don't necessarily know some or all. Like I mean,
it was what, a 50-year occupation? It lasted a
60
while.
years. Yep.
Yeah. And maybe
60 of your Earth years.
Because I forget even if Gul Madred even talks about it during Chain of Command, if it even comes up about the occupation or not. Or if that even been in... No, it obviously had been invented. Ensign Row had already happened. But, it'd just be... I mean, violence, of course. The spectrum of violence. Be interesting what they all... Their version of what... Their perspective of what it is. Because we know Dukat, and he's just doing his stupid thing about, the I was the, benevolent dictator.
Right. It could have been much worse.
Yeah,
I
if
held
not,
it
but
back
for me. Yeah.
And it's like, really? No, it was terrible
Yeah.
under you. Like, you don't get a play. Now I'm just picturing like Miles walking down a corridor and turning the corner, and he sees them all, and he's just like, nope.
See, I was thinking if they were to actually write this adventure, they would somehow force O'Brien to go with them, just because
He's the pilot.
so miserable.
He's piloting the runabout, going like,
Miserable.
no.
It's just like
He'd be so mad the whole time. It'd be funny.
he's just like beep 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 beep, and then Garrick's like, oh, my dear Miles, I forgot to tell you, we deactivated the self-destruct system. And he's just like, dang it. like he's like, hey, I can take you all out right now. Just blow up the ship. I call it a win. Yeah, okay. Now I need to see the Magnificent Cardassians as an episode.
I don't know if magnificent. We really definitely another
the
adjective.
despicable
There you
Cardassians.
go. There you go. The Despicable Cardassians.
But yeah, Madred. Yeah, but we were talking about David Warner. That's right, great actor. But yeah, really great. I mean, not as many roles as a Jeffrey Combs, but I think definitely had his impact on Star Trek. So it was interesting to go through these characters, and especially some of his TNG ones. So, Philip, if someone wanted to find you and ask you how many lights there are, where would they find you?
They can reach me on Twitter at NCPublicServant. And I think there were 4.
And Daniel, if someone wanted to talk to you about where you hid your gravity boots, where would they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at OneUpDan. That is the number 1, not the word.
And if someone wanted to talk to me about the planet of galactic peace that is a barren wasteland, they can find me on drsci-fi.com, DRSCIFI. Well, I'm Darren Moser.
I'm Philip Gilfus.
I'm Daniel Prue.
Stranded here with the Despicable Cardassians on City Alpha 3.